Alright guys, let's start off with a kind of a brief Rival history discussion. When Rival was first released, the price for a pack of 25 rounds was $9.99, just kind of standard retail. But that was kind of a little steep kind of for what it was, but you couldn't blame them for trying for kind of a brand new product. Shortly thereafter, Academy Sports came out and were selling the 25 round packs for $4.50 for whatever reason. But of course that didn't last long because they realized they weren't making any money. Fast forward a little bit, Cornucopia came out and was the first third-party Rival round producer. But they didn't create a very good product. They came back later with kind of a revision, but at that point nobody really trusted them anymore, and I don't even think they're making them anymore. But after that, I've been seeing at Walmart especially selling the 25 round packs of Nerf Rival rounds for between $6.90 something and $7.20 something, kind of in that neighborhood more or less. A little more recently, Headshot Ammo came out with their version of the high impact round, HIR, and has pretty much been accepted as the closest thing you can get to the Nerf brand without paying the Nerf premium. And that's been great. They've been selling for, I think, they're 110 for 20 bucks or right in there somewhere. And that's a fantastic deal, especially compared to what Nerf offers. But now there's a new flavor. This is a round from Lightake.com that's kind of a third party running for $10 for 100, which is really, really good. Where Headshot Ammo was roughly half of the price of Nerf, this is roughly half the price of Headshot. So, can a product produced and sold for a quarter of the cost of Nerf, can it be as good? Well, let's go out into the range and fire these things off through all the blasters I have and see how well they compare to the Nerf brand. Starting with the Apollo, shooting 5 mags full of Nerf brand rounds. Now this is a bit unusual for Apollos in my experience. This is an unfamiliar blaster, this is just a new one that I picked up, but it seems to be shooting fairly widespread, not necessarily as consistently down the middle as I would like. And firing right about average of 92 FPS. Moving on to the Lightake blue rounds, we see the same kind of inconsistent spread, a lot that going down the middle and a lot of wild hooks to the left and right, which to me says that the ammo acts the same, it's just the blaster itself that seems to have some kind of issues. And firing a pretty similar average FPS. Now it's hard to see in the picture, but there is a pretty even, pretty even spread between the Lightake rounds and the Nerf brand rounds. Although the blue rounds are kind of hard to see in the picture, but it is fairly even. Next up is the Atlas. Again, firing 5 mags full of each round. This isn't quite as telling of the ammo, just because the Atlas doesn't have the same hop up and the kind of more ballistics to worry about. It just kind of lobs them out. But it left them in a nice pile, shooting about 91 FPS average. Next, with the blue Lightake rounds, we're seeing there again a similar lobbing effect out there. They land kind of in the same neat little pile. I forgot to get the picture of how the ammo landed, what the grouping was, but there again it just landed in right about the same size and shape of group as the Nerf brand rounds. And shooting same FPS average. Next up is an Artemis shooting a full load of Nerf brand rounds. And this is why I don't like the Artemis, is that it's just sporadic all over the place, just no real rhyme or reason, shooting left, right, up and down the middle, a couple of times. Average 95 FPS. And with the load of the blue Lightake rounds, it's the same kind of all over the place, just putting balls wherever they want to. Kind of the same ballpark of FPS. Hard to see because the spread was so wide, but this is kind of the main group, and the blue and the Nerf brand rounds are kind of littered in there, fairly evenly. Next up is a Zeus on 3S and hooking wildly to the right, which does make it fun to play as kind of a wild card in the arena. But it does shoot fairly consistently to the one side. Averaging about 112. Now with the blue Lightake rounds, doing the same just wild hook off to the right side. And even though the camera goes out of focus for a minute, you can still see him pulling off and dropping into the shadow behind the tree to the right. And slightly lower FPS. And even though the blaster is hooking, so far to the one side, the grouping is still very similar. Next up is 3S Hera, shooting remarkably straight, probably the straightest shooting of the bunch of the whole test batch. There is a lot of exaggerated hop up with the 3S on the Hera, but they do level out pretty good down their waist. And there's a few kind of outliers, a few hook off to one side or the other, but for the most part, the great majority are shooting right down the middle. This is a very unscientific firing. I'm just kind of aiming towards that shed out there. Shoot about 113. With the blue Lightake rounds. There was one weird jam that I had, and I had shot hundreds and hundreds, literally, of rounds before through all these blasters and stuff, before I started actually filming, and this was the first time it happened to do this weird jam on the Artemis, or on the Hera. But there again, we're seeing the same firing pattern itself, same, exaggerated hop up that does level off, but at least everything for the most part is shooting right down the middle. And again, slightly lower FPS. And the shadow kind of screws up the picture, but they are right in a very comparable grouping to the Nerf brand rounds. Next up is a Chaos on 2S. Which shoots pretty good down the middle and tends to hook to the left just a little bit, once in a while. Shooting 104. Now with the blue Lightake rounds. Again, shooting the same, right about the same pattern, where most of them go pretty good down the middle, and then you have, off and on, some hooking off to the left side. But honestly, the Lightake rounds were more consistent shooting down the middle, didn't have quite as many hooking off to the side as the Nerf brand rounds. And again, slightly lower FPS. Again, everything landed in the shadow, but for the most part, the groupings were, pretty close to between the two brands of ammo. Next up is the 3S Chaos with the Rhino pusher, with the pusher cranked down as low as I could in order to make it a little controllable. Again, it shoots a great deal of them down the middle, but hooks a lot of them off to the left. Shooting 108 with the blue Lightake rounds. same, shooting pretty much down the middle, a couple off to the left side, and then one or two off to the right a little bit. There again, a really similar pattern to what the Nerf brand rounds are shooting. Shooting 102, they're again slightly lower. And again, a very similar pattern to what the Nerf brand rounds were. So, in the end, you have a product for a highly reduced price that's basically getting the same performance, more or less. I mean, comparable in pretty much every way. Is it superior? Not necessarily. The only issue I'm having with them right now is that anybody who's run a 3S flywheeler on Rival will know that it just blows like foam chunks like crazy. And I'll try to get some better pictures to show the detail. But I'm seeing that with the Lightake version. I don't know if it's showing up more because the product's breaking down faster, or if it's just because the color allows it to be seen better, because you can't really tell a difference when you're looking at the Nerf brand ones until they're really wore out. But here, since it has more of a kind of a glazed finish or whatever, just due to the tooling, the molding of it, but it's showing the kind of open cell foam inside, they still fire fine and perform fine, even through springers. And of course, this is after being fired hundreds of times. So, I mean, longevity might be an issue, but that's kind of to be expected for darts and everything else. But especially if you're running straight flywheelers, you could probably burn these things until they turn to dust, and you ought to be fine. But like I said, it's breaking down technically, but so does the Nerf stuff. Is it break it down a little quicker? Maybe, but you can go through 4 sets of these for the price of one of these. So it depends if you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, or stuff where your rounds are going to be lost anyway. You might be a little better off going with the cheaper. I don't see how you can really necessarily lose going with the cheaper stuff. I personally am going to buy more of these, and I like Rival. I like shooting Rival a lot. Like at the arena and stuff like that, I like Rival. I would recommend that the owner of the arena buy these. I'm gonna actually probably take these ones to him and say, hey, you gotta look into these. This is good stuff. I plan on buying some more. I mean, I've already got a mess of the Nerf brand stuff, but I'm pretty darn confident. And like I said, I like Rival. I don't want to go cheap on Rival, even though I'm pretty cheap when it comes to Nerf. That's why I scratch build a lot of stuff and don't buy a lot of kits. But I'm pretty confident with this as a product, and I would recommend it. I would buy it. I'm going to buy more. So yeah, I'm going to put the link in the description so you can buy the 100 pack of these. And I believe it was $10 and change, and I think shipping to me was about 3 something. So you're still talking at the end of the day 100 for under 14 bucks, which I don't know if you can get a reduced rate if you buy a whole lot more. I might actually look into that. But that, I still think, is a lot of bang for your buck. So I give the Lightake Rival rounds, also available in yellow, and I would assume you get the same quality product out of it. But yeah, I give that a solid buy. I am very confident. So that's this review. So look forward to seeing more of these Lightake products reviewed in the future, and we'll see you next time.